Hey everybody, and welcome back to the vlog. Hey guys, this is part 4 of the greatest car chase in NYC's history. Now, we're going to be talking about, we already talked about the car chase. You guys heard the audio of the car chase. The last video that we did, you learned about what happened when me and Gus was put through the criminal justice system in New York. And now we're going to be talking about the civil lawsuit, which took 8 years. Yep, in the year 2000. So now, I want to talk a little bit about me and lawsuits. I've had quite a number of them, and let's look at them. So the first lawsuit that made, well, all of my lawsuits made headline news, but the one against my former employer, New Jersey Transit. So New Jersey, Maher versus New Jersey Transit. Now that case was significant because it set case law. And for all of you that don't know what that means, it means that my case was dismissed and it went to the United States Supreme Court. It was overturned and it set precedent law. It's this one right here. Okay? Now, I had another lawsuit that made headlines news as well. It was Maher versus Staub. And that's my ex-wife, who was the star of the hit TV show, The Real Housewives of New Jersey. And although I can't talk about what the outcome was, because there's an agreement where we can't talk about who won, who lost, or whatever. But every time I think about that lawsuit, I do that. So, let's look at that one. Okay, and what's the other one? Well, there was so many I can't count. But the other interesting one was when I filed the lawsuit. I had owned the company. I had owned my own private investigative company for 20 years. Had some issues with some of my clients. And I filed a lawsuit just to break her chops. And guess what? Wound up on Judge Judy. That's right. It was on Judge Judy. And the title was Felony Kickbacks, Maher versus Garnica. And let's take a look at me. And then let's take a look at me on Judge Judy.
So she said to you, you make money, you kick back some to me.
Their business arrangement hit close to home.
Did you have Mr. Morris Gardner come in to work at your house?
Yes, she called me up and said, by the way, you are going to take care of this, aren't you?
So he severed their connection permanently.
You advised her boss that she was looking for kickbacks.
That really ticked me off.
Judge Judy. You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheinman. This is Judge Judy. Kevin Maher is suing his former friend and business associate, Christina Garnica, for unpaid gardening work and legal fees.
Order. All rise. Case number 51 on the calendar, the matter of Maher versus Garnica.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Step out.
He got me terminated from my job. The judge didn't believe a word that woman said. I don't know how he sleeps at night. When a claims examiner who works for an insurance company expects kickbacks, well, that's a felony.
Made up lies saying I was getting kickbacks, which I never did.
My work speaks for itself. I don't need to pay an examiner to get referrals.
Just retaliation because I wasn't giving them any more business.
I just got sucked in, and it's something that will never happen again.
And now, the next case.
And yes, I won. We're going to put a link in the description so you can go right on YouTube and you'll be able to watch the whole thing. But those clips were pretty funny. All right, so now let's talk about what happened in the civil lawsuit. And some of this stuff is going to be legal, mumbo jumbo type stuff. And so, all right, I filed a lawsuit against New York City and New York City Police Department and New York City Housing Authority. They have a police department. So we file the lawsuit, me and Gus. Gus decides that he doesn't want to be part of my lawsuit because of my criminal history. So what he does, which was smart for him, he settled the lawsuit. So let's talk about what happened to Gus's first. Gus's case was heard before mine. Now in Queens County at that time, they only had one courtroom to handle all of New York City's police brutality type lawsuits. And the judge was a retired judge. He was 82 years old, little guy, 5'2". So anyway, so Gus goes to court. His case came up before mine. And he goes in there, and he was beaten so bad that it was a miracle that he survived and his face wasn't deformed. Let's take a look at what Gus looks like now. See, good looking guy. God, I never thought his face would go back to normal. As big and swelled up, and 250 stitches those bastards gave him. So Gus goes. Now Gus never had a criminal history. I was the one that did all the bad driving. He started out. Gus wasn't cutting it. I had to jump in the back seat, take the car, and the things that I did that night with that Cadillac were just unbelievable. And there were a couple of my viewers that actually followed the chase with a map, and the distances that I covered on surface streets were like just unbelievable. I'm in Jamaica 1 minute, then I'm in Flushing, then I'm in Corona, then I'm in, so it was just unbelievable. It was an unbelievable car chase that lasted 1 hour and 10 minutes. And so anyway, let's get back to what happened to Gus. So Gus's case comes up first, and they subpoenaed 8 police officers. Now, we knew those 8 police officers were involved in the 32 cars that chased us because we were able to get their call sign. So the one was 114 Nora, that was the arresting officer, and then 150, and then all these other ones. And they gave their call sign every time they transmitted so the dispatcher would know what car was. So we were able to get 8 cops to testify. Gus subpoenaed all of those police officers, and they didn't show up. Re-subpoenaed all of them again, didn't show up. Again, the 3rd time. Now, the reason I believe New York City did this, that it was better for them to lose by default judgment than to have them testify and just make the city look bad, because there were no defense. We could prove that there was an ounce of a drop of blood inside the car when the car was towed, so the injuries had to happen after we left, ran out of the car. So okay, and so now the judge is going to, 3rd time strike, they didn't show up. The judge was going to rule in Gus's favor and put in a judgment for default judgment. And this was funny from what I heard. Now, I wasn't there, so this is what I heard. Now, so the judge gives the 2 attorneys, the 2 city attorneys, a tongue lashing. You should have settled this case before. You knew the officer did not show up. And I hereby, his judgment is going to be $1,000. And there was a big pause. The 2 city attorneys were like, oh man, only $1,000? This is only costing us $1,000. And of course, Gus's attorney was shocked. Gus's jaw dropped, you know. And then the judge says, for every stitch he got, for every stitch he got, and that number was $250,000. And of course, now you figure out, so now I only wound up with $40,000 because my damages weren't as great as Gus's. Now let's figure out why. If I was doing all the driving, Gus got the brunt, got the beating of unbelievable. Let's talk about why that happened. I know, they couldn't have caught us in a worse place. It was a place called Alley Pond Park. It was dark. I pulled into a parking lot. Boom, dead end. Done. We're done. Now I know what to do because I'm a criminal. I know what's coming. And even during the chase, Gus was telling me, stop. I says, if we stop, we're going to get a beat. It's guaranteed when you run from the NYPD, you're getting tuned up. But I didn't think it was going to be that bad. But you're going to get tuned up. And I told them, if we stop and they catch us now, we already knew we were caught because the plates on the car belonged to Gus. So we knew we were going to get caught. We just didn't want to get caught now because it escalated to this wildest chase going eastbound on a westbound LIE to Van Wyck. I had to go to, the things that I had to do because the cops had me out horsepowered by 55 horses. So anyway, I'm telling them, we pull into the parking lot and it's wooded area, and before we even, the car stopped. I had my door open, I throw the car in park, and I'm gone. I'm running. So what does poor Gus do? He followed me out the driver's door. Just as 32 police cars, 64 cops, helicopters above, pulled into the parking lot. And they saw him get out of the driver's door and run. So he's the driver. He's the driver. I ran up into the woods. I saw the helicopter coming, and it was January 19th, 1992. I know that the CD says March something, 1992, but that's when we actually subpoenaed New York City to get the tapes of the 911 calls and the radio transmissions. So I'm in the park and I'm burying myself, and then they come beating him. Okay, so that's why he got beat. I don't want that's in the other story. So now we're talking about the court case. Gus just gets $250,000. Now my case comes up. Now my case came up in 2000. I think it was August 2000. So my case comes up, and they don't really give a shit about me because I have a long criminal history, and I went to prison for this once before. And their position was, well, you shouldn't have ran, And the thing that me and my attorney decided, that we were going to get a trial by judge instead of jury, because the jurors may look at this as like, yeah, look what you did. You put all kinds of people's lives in danger, and now we, the citizens, have to pay for it, which they did. So, prior to trial, you're going to get what's called a deposition. So I was deposed by New York City, two attorneys, and everything, you got to answer all questions, everything comes out. So it comes out that I was a paid confidential informant at that time for 20 years. And they said, oh, really? So there's an old Jewish judge and this young female judge, a young female attorney for the city. And the old guy, he was a real wise guy, this guy. And of course, the cop that arrested us is there at this deposition in Queens, Kew Gardens office in the court. So they didn't want to know about me being an informant. So I'm telling them. And, as you guys have followed my channel, my stories are unbelievable. But they're all true. So this is about 2 years after we filed the lawsuit. So now we're talking about 1994-ish, right? So, and I know the law. I've had plenty of lawsuits. You've seen them. I'm pretty famous just for suing people. That's what I do. And so they start give the old man and the young girl, like, what the is this guy kidding me? So now I know they don't believe me. So the purpose of a deposition is a couple of things. Number one, they want to see how well you're going to perform testifying. The other thing is, then they want to see if they can catch you in a lie. If they can catch you in a lie, and this testimony is sworn testimony, punishable by perjury. So if they can get me lying enough on the depo, then they could go to the judge and say, look, this guy's lied, and there's nothing that you can believe in. The judge, especially when I'm a convicted felon, can just blow me away, and I guess that's what they were looking for. So as I'm telling them all these stories, they're going over, and they're looking at each other, and they're laughing. So I'm telling the story now in a way, yeah, and then I did this, and then I did that, and then you should have saw what I did over here, and and I'm so cool, I'm so 007, and they're just laughing and letting me go, fully believing that everything that I'm saying is a lie, under oath. So I set them up. So now let's see what happens. First, now they went, according to the city attorney, and they tried to verify my CI number, which back then was CI 175, and they couldn't verify it. So that made them even think I was a bigger liar. So what did I do? What did I do? I had my friend, Tommy Harkins, who by the time we go to trial is now retired, right? And he comes to court for me. God bless you, Tommy Harkins. Here's a picture of Tommy right now. Great guy. He lives in Brooklyn. He's a great guy. So now I have him testifying. So the first day of trial, I testified. And they're boom, and they're bringing up the records. Is it true? You said you were, well, would you be surprised if we told you there's no record of you being an informant? And all these stories, and he's flipping through the thing, flipping through the transcripts of the deposition that was done like 6 years ago, and he's going on and he's going on and go, yep, that's true. Is that right? Yes, that's true. Is this story true? Yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. By this time, the judge, the little Jewish guy that's like 82 years old, he was a retired judge, and all he did was New York City lawsuits. And it was a big bench, a big desk up there, and I'm looking at him, and he was just so enthralled about the whole thing. And then the city attorney, or the housing attorney, he started beating me up, and I says, and isn't it true that none of this is true? And I says, as a matter of fact, everything is true. And the detective that I told you that I worked for is right outside, and he's ready to testify. Well, if that wasn't a Perry Mason moment, I don't know what was. That was the big bomb. Boom! And then Tommy comes in, and he starts testifying, and my lawyer gets up. Now, my lawyer had a clipboard. A clipboard. And under the clipboard was a copy of my best-selling book, Cop Without a Badge. So Tommy gets up there and he says, isn't it true that, I forget what word he used, that you contributed to the printing of my client's best-selling book? And he pulls the book out, Cop Without a Badge. Your Honor, I'd like to enter this and that. And the two lawyers are going, what the fuck? He pulls the book out, and he hands it to the book, and he says, is that your picture in the book? Because it's his picture. Let's look at Tommy's picture in the book. Boom. That's him. That's Tommy in the squad room of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office squad. And this other one is Tommy at my book party reading the very same book that we're talking about. So now that's a Perry Mason moment. Now they got 8 cops out there in the hallway with poor Tommy. Tommy had to stand with all those cops out in the hallway. So at that point, the judge says, can I see that? So we gave the book to the judge. And the judge actually was like a little kid. He was looking, and he's looking through the pictures in the book, and he's looking at me, and he's going, oh my God, this guy really is for real. And none of this testimony that I gave during the deposition was a lie. So now the judge got the book. We break for lunch. We come back, and now the judge, for the hour, was reading the whole book. He was an avid book reader, and he was very much interested in true crime stories. So I wooed the judge. So now we come back, and now we come back, and a cop gets up. One of the cops gets on the stand, and he was really pissing me off. He kept referring to me as the defendant. Well, in this court, I'm not the defendant. You are the defendant. You and your employer. So he kept calling me defendant. I said, I object. I object, Judge. I am not the defendant. That police officer, he's the defendant. And I'd like to clear the record up right now and put that down, that he's the defendant. And I would like you, Your Honor, to instruct the witness not to refer to me as defendant. He's the defendant. And the judge says, okay. Now the judge liked me. The judge liked me. And he was just like unbelievable. So then that day's court is over. The judge goes, listen, so the day's over, and then I don't know if it was on the record or off the record. He goes, listen, you guys need to go into the back room, to the back of this courtroom right now, and settle this case, or I will. So, and he said, no, right now. And so all three lawyers, my lawyer and the other two lawyers, go to the back, and they walk back up front, and boom, the New York City lawyer goes, yeah, we settled. Now, don't forget, there was two defendants, New York City Police Department, New York City Housing Police Department. And they go, okay, we settled $25,000. So the guy, the attorney for the housing authority, didn't want to settle. He didn't like the numbers. So there was only one New York City housing cop car there. So he was going, why should we pay anything? We should. I think he offered me like $5,000. Why should we pay? There was only one of our cops, but that was the cop that beat the crap out of Gus, right? But nonetheless, there was only one of the radio cars that were there. So when we come back the next day, and I guess now don't forget, the judge still got the book. The judge got the book. He took the book home. So the second day we come back, and the judge goes, he said something about settling. I said, we're gonna go back to the back of the room, and they came back up $15,000. So I got $40,000. Now let's take a look at what that means. In 1990, $290,000 would be the equivalent of $667,513.33. That's what it. So I didn't break down what my thing, 40,000. So I guess it would be like almost, would probably be 60,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. But anyway, so the story doesn't end there. So we're signing the release papers now, right? I'm signing the release papers, and we go back on record that they have 30 days to pay, and they're going to make sure that there's any judgments that come up, that the city will be obligated to pay any judgments that I own. And there's some of the legal things are going on. Meanwhile, the 8 cops that beat us all up, and one of them, a black guy by the name of, I think his name was Williams, big guy. He got big freaking hands. He hit me so hard I saw stars when he was beating me up. So now, the judge comes down from his big bench. He's a little guy, and we're all standing there. And he hands me the book back, or something I moved with the book, and he says, wow, I was reading that last night, and what a great story. And I said, well, Your Honor, I mean, everything is settled now. I said, would you like to take a copy of the book? And he says, oh, yeah, absolutely. And I go, would you like me to sign it? Now the city attorney for the housing authority, he looked up and he went, what? And I go, yeah, yeah, of course I will. So I signed it with his first name and his wife's first name. Best wishes, your new friend, Kevin Maher. So now what happens? So everything is done, and we're all leaving the courtroom. The lawyers went ahead, and me and the judge are walking side by side, and my lawyer is behind the judge. The judge has his new book on his chest like this as he's walking out. By this time, all those cops know that I'm for real and I have a book. So they're all out there. You got the big black guy, Williams, is sitting on a bench, right? He was to the right. The elevators were to the straight ahead. And then the other cops were grouped in a little group over here that hated me. They hated me. So we go through one door, and then there's a little hallway. Then there's another door that goes into a hallway. And then we're out of the courtroom. So he's right next to me. My lawyer opens up the door. I see all the cops. I'm walking, me and the judge is walking together, going out the door. And what do you think I did? No good guesses? I put my arm around the judge and we walk out together, and all the cops see that. I got the little judge and we're walking out, and the one lawyer that was holding the door, as me and the judge walks out, and I went, oh, thank you very much, Judge, I really appreciate it. Hey, Officer Williams, hey, how you doing? Walking up to him, and I go to shake his hand. He shakes my hand, and he's looking up at me. He's sitting down on the bench. And I said, hey, hitting hard as ever? We got to do this. We got to do this again sometime soon. I'd love to chat with you, but I got to go to the Porsche dealer before they close. And my lawyer, and then the little judge walked away. I think that was so funny that I'm still laughing, and it's what, 30 years ago? So anyway, that's going to conclude our little video here about the 4 parts of this car chase, which went down in New York City's history. I hope you guys enjoy. And another thing, for all you guys that didn't watch the other 3 videos, you got to do that. I guarantee you'll love it. And if you guys haven't already, please like and subscribe. Hit that button. Oh, and the other thing that I want to tell you guys, now, I just did another interview yesterday with Sean Atwood. And it was over 3 hours long. So he's going to be putting that up pretty soon, and he's a great interviewer, and I just kudos. You got to check out his channel. Like, I need to tell you to check his. He's got like almost 800,000 subscribers, but check out Sean's channel. I don't know when it's going to be published, but when it does, I'll see you over on his channel.